I'm back with more of the end of the Schumann Quintet fourth movement. So I'm just at the point where I'm going into the fugato, not the fugue. I had a nice fingering worked out, but I let the fingering alone and not the grouping that the fingering represented guide me, so I got stuck. And this, that one little decision makes all the difference. This and then this and this. And then this and this. Whoops. Nice to know in context. When I have the theme, I've got four partners. You know, they all get turns in various ways. This is a pseudo entry. Significant, but okay. I'm doubling the cellist here, cello, and doubling the cello here. But at 14 or O, I think, the violin. Cello and I have fragmented the theme. The closest thing to a theme, to a subject we have here. Just want to be aware. Again, the two inner strings are being very busy, but nobody else has real thematic material. So. Okay, the viola, first and viola, have these eighth notes, but in terms of singing, I've got an important role here. So it's worth writing, noting, let's see, in terms of comfort. I think I'll start third finger in the right hand. Just one little decision. Whoops. Good grief. You know what? I know I can reach 4, 2 to 1 here. 2, 1 is try now. It's not hard for me at all, but and it's right under my hand. It should not be a big deal. But I wrote down fourth finger, even if it required me moving my hand over, because it just guarantees it. I move my hand, my arm moves my hand comfortably, and the spacing is perfect. It's one of those things. It's a judgment call. This works. Just a little bit more attention. The other works anyway, no matter what, almost. I just go like that. That is the optimal way of fingering that particular chord. So. I'm going to go 5-3 here. fourth finger down there. It's that I could use any of three different fingerings, 5, 4, or 3, and because the fourth is by far the most dependable, I just want to remind myself. Same thing down there. 3, 1, 5, 3, 1 would be great. It's actually a little bit greater. It's there. 1, 3, 5 on an F minor chord is optimal. I'll use one of my perverse fingerings. Of course I can do this. When you talk about speed, I keep having to stress the fact that proximity doesn't guarantee speed. It's the sense of ease. If you're going from an easy position to an easy position, there's no resistance in your body, so your arm can fling your hand all over the place. If you're going to an intelligent fingering that's next door or appropriate, you still have to think about it. You have to recast your hand position. If I go plunk plunk, I can go there rather easily. So, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write it to indicate that I've passed by here and I decided that's good. Okay, lots of chromaticisms coming up. Enough to make me very... That's chromatic. I've done one of these turn fingerings. Okay, I think, what yesterday's me thought. That guarantee a sense of ease. For example, the last quarter of this particular measure slides inevitably and wonderfully to the next one. So that's a natural pair for me. One note back further, it's quite reasonable. The choreography is simple and comfortable. One note back from that requires a certain reversal. So in a way, what I'm going to do is add a line in my head. So in other words, I'm going to group this with this, and then group this with that. So even though this is okay, I need some sense of belonging for this E flat 7. Not just harmonically that E flat 7 resolves to A flat, but physically it's resolving this way. And this is resolving physically, sliding from the black notes to the white notes. that means getting here is isolated from what comes next. Go to here, then here, then here. Nice. Okay. This is musical tongue twisters at their best. Of these as belonging to one another, there's such an extreme shift in position. I've written a second finger, and I'm wondering if I had intended to just grab this with 5, 4, 2, 1. So why? Is it faster for me? What may well be. Who might have questioned me? It's a much more passive shift, so that's what I'm going to do. Yesterday me and today me are in agreement. Second finger. Fifth is always a part of the mix. Second, yeah. Get to here, then get here, stop. And then stop, and then shift, and then here, and then here. One note further. The repeated note. Okay, so the familiarity is not just coming from going back through the same notes over and over and over, but reinforcing the sense of what connects well. And the verbalizing, whether it be internal or external, you're hearing it. I rather suspect a lot of people, including myself, would benefit from what I'm doing right now, from orally indicating what I need to listen to. The voice is just that much more articulate then, so go to here, then go here, then start again, and then whoops. label helps a lot, because at the very bottom of my hand I hadn't noticed that there was a D there. If I notice at the top of my hand, at the top of the passage, that I'm heading for a particular sensation, a particular sonority, I'm armed. There's my D half diminished. Now here's a particularly awkward chord. This fourth is really important. I've got to be thinking of my left hand here. Because just looking at this passage superficially, it looks like a whole bunch of triads or something like that, but it's rather more subtle or sophisticated. Here's the half diminished chord, here's an F minor chord. This diminished chord is spaced radically differently. So for me it requires coming out for the G. I had it already marked for the left hand. It does me no good to not be aware of it for both hands. And then this is actually two chords. So if I think of it as one, I'm done for. It's really nice when I move in on the E flat. Move in. And the third finger here makes a big difference. 3, 4, 2, 4, I suppose. That's what I'll do. 3, 4, followed by 2, 4. The fingering then leads me to the intervals. I could just go to thumb. Maybe I will do that. Makes my hand just a little bit more comfortable. But unfortunately, when I wrote it down, this can happen. The one looked like an extension of the stem of the note, so it wasn't at all visually useful. Yes. The smart body. 1, 2. I think I've been practicing this a little too fast. Set up for, say, a cadenza. So in this case, the cadenza happens to be a fugue. This shift to the second, I noticed, is a little troublesome. But not if I'm aware. There's plenty of time. Especially if you're only playing a portion of the fugue, in other words, if you're not responsible for all of the notes. The notes aren't always fully intuitive. You don't always know what role they're playing, especially if they're not the subject. So it becomes necessary to really familiarize yourself orally and physically with what's going on. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. doubled the cello. I am doubling the cello, so it's not important that I just hammer it out all by myself. But it also means, because I'm sharing the shape and the intent, I have to be comfortable with what I'm doing. I've written 3, so had I not written it, I would never do it. So I'm going to add a line just as a reminder that I've selected a new hand position as well. Feels really arbitrary, so I've got to figure out what I'm doing. Thumb makes the most sense. 1. So I want 4 at the bottom. I want 2 here. 1 here. Ideally, I'd want to end on thumb here. Let's see if I can. I'm on 3 here. The only way to end on thumb is to go to 4 instead of 5 on G. So I might just skip fingers. 5, 4, 3, 1, or 5, 5, 3, 2, 1. What Schumann, because if I do, I have these 2 notes. The left hand has to lead from A. I can do it. Actually, but I could also. I go 5-2 here. That's what I'm going to do. 5, 5, 2, and then 3, 1. Makes 4-2 inevitable. So let's see. considering only the left hand. I do 2 again. That's right. And then I'll put thumb on the D in the right hand. Turn my hand. All right. Off. And although it's obvious that a third above the thumb, I can play a third finger. I'm going to write it as a stabilizer, let me say, mood stabilizer. Should be, but I'm going to write it as a reminder because I didn't want to do it. Third finger. I didn't put down, I didn't play fourth finger. Fourth finger. This feels complicated. There's a whole bunch of mildly arbitrary fingerings. And so I need to slow down to capture their persuasiveness, why I've chosen them. I like them. But the possibility of using a variety of different fingers intrudes on me. I don't want to have that many possibilities. That is the fourth finger at the end of a scale. That's good. Okay, let me go back to where I get my entry. Sloppy without a strong sense of what feels right. Okay, so if I go 3 up here and then 2, I make myself a little more uncomfortable than I imagine. So the third finger is smart for getting me to this chord, not so smart for getting me off that chord. I much prefer the spacing down here. Go 5-3, so I could go 3-3. I could go. this reminds me a lot of the time that when your results seem arbitrary, in other words, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work, or you don't know why it doesn't work, but it should work because you're concentrating hard, it's often that kind of thing, that your body is betraying you in a fashion. It's saying, look, if you think really hard, I'll do that for you, but if you're not thinking really hard, I'll do what comes more naturally. So in this case, I'm looking for a solution that gets me the result, the accuracy and the ease, more immediately. So I'm thinking, and again, as I said, practice humbles you, and learning the perverse ways in which you can booby trap your own best desires. I think that adjustment is useful. Yeah, so even though I'm negotiating a bunch of white notes, I'm feeling their relationships. Yeah, that feels good. This shouldn't be hard, it's got a black note. Then, if I'm going to play fourth finger, playing a fourth finger in isolation is always tricky. So if I'm already centered on the idea of playing G, that defines my hand position for me. So I could practice if I were having trouble getting the E. So I'm going to do that later on anyway, with this chord coming up. That was a lot of slapping. So start fresh here. Draw a line. Finish to the G, to the C, and then start fresh. Maybe it helps to look. It's surprisingly untrustworthy until you find the exact right groove. You're still slapping. I have to turn my hand a little bit this away to negotiate getting to that octave easily, and then go to a different position. Get those black wires. Okay, this is a recurrent figure. We've done it before. Okay, the big thing here is shifting my left hand always. Okay, if I know that, that takes care of an awful lot of headache. As it happened, I actually looked at the left-hand part there as a reminder. Think. Okay, and then the finish. 5-2 here. What I'm going to do is just circle the significant chord. It attracts my eye and makes everything better. And then we do it again. Why not circle it again? Remembering the cluster. Rest. Let's see. Not quite. Cluster. right. How about I see I've also written our eyeglass.